right now, what we're going to be doing is talking about my continuing adventures in the city of Gotham. Yes, I have become addicted to this television show that stars Ben McKenzie and David Mazouz and Sean Pertwee. There's lots of names. Marina Baccarin. Robin Lord Taylor, lots of good character actors in this thing. And it is a gorgeous show, as I talked about in my Season 3 recap. I spent some time not too long ago and sort of binged the whole of Season 3, and I decided I'm not going to try to binge everything in Season 4 before I come back here. I'm going to sort of break it up into chunks of 3. So I've watched the first 8 episodes, and again, what I would say about this show is don't consume it super quickly, because it just starts to kind of get very samey, although by Season 4, what's really impressive for me, a lot of my complaints about Season 3 is that Gordon really wasn't, taking the reins and the ownership of being a leader, and that's absolutely starting to happen in Season 4. It's not just growly, punchy guy. He's actually got some, levels of depth and empathy, and he's been through hell, and he's maturing, in the role, and he's maturing as an actor, and he's really Ben McKenzie's looking really comfortable in the shoes of James Gordon, and he actually takes the reins of leadership, which is really cool to see. And the other thing that's really cool to see is Bruce Wayne, David Mazouz, I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, is doing a fantastic job just growing up. I mean, he's 18 now, or 17 or 18 years old, and so we've watched this little kid become Bruce Wayne, and he actually starts to get outfitted and take over the kind of mantle of somebody that is, ready to fight for what he believes in. And he has to do some despicable things. He encounters Ra's al Ghul at the end of Season 3, and he has to do some horrible things with Ra's al Ghul in the first chunk of Season 4, which was pretty exhilarating to see. But all of it is leading to this nuanced performance of Bruce Wayne as a human being, and we don't really get that too often in the cinematic work that we get around the character of Batman. So we're starting to get to know this kid who is training. He's got some, elements of his suit starting to come together. He's not afraid to go out at night and do some patrolling and beating up bad guys. And he's kind of convincing. And in this, because he's kind of screwed up at the beginning of the season by some of the events that have unfolded, he's suddenly becomes a regular teenager, and he goes out drinking and does some silly things, and he sort of pushes himself in limits that he hasn't done before, but all of it is part of his maturation process, and I'm digging what they're doing with the Bruce Wayne character. I'm also liking how the Penguin character is starting to become less of a fidgety, worried little character that sort of snuck into a leadership role, and now he's got the darkness ever since he froze Edward Nygma, the Riddler, and put him as a cornerstone or a centerpiece inside of his nightclub. He's felt like this real champion, and anything he says and does goes, and he's doing a great job at sort of adding, layers of complexity to that role as well. They kind of dressed up Robin Taylor a little bit differently too. He's got a spiky haircut to sort of augment his spiky nose, and he just looks more Penguin-like than he ever has in the series so far. He's doing a great job, and of course nobody dies in this show. So somebody that we saw, presumably, actually a couple characters that we saw presumably pass away in Season 3 have returned. One of them is now Solomon Grundy, so we get the Solomon Grundy origin story in the very, opening acts of Season 4, and it's kind of ridiculous, but it's also kind of working. There's memory flashbacks with this character, thinking about the life that he once had, and there's some characters that he cares about sort of come back into his life. I'm trying not to spoil too much, because you should find your way to watch some of this content as well. All in all, I think Season 4 is off with a bang, and I'm actually really looking forward to diving in and checking some more out. I'm not going to just keep binging all of it, though, because I don't want to feel like I'm just, soaking up in that same kind of vibe over and over and over again. I would say that the show suffers from the lack of ability to this. I know that there are contracts tied to this work, and expensive, solid actors that are sort of depending on the livelihood and all that stuff. And there's also ties to the fiction of Batman, that a lot of these villains have to just continue to persist and be a part of Batman's day to day later on in his story, and so the writers are kind of hemmed in by that. But there's some characters that should get killed and disappear, and we don't see them again. And it's kind of ridiculous, and the characters are actually commenting on it in the scripts in the show that nobody really dies. It's Gotham, and there's a million ways that you can you can come back to life in this city, and that becomes a little preposterous. But that's also the kind of the campy charm of Gotham City and the whole Batman Rogues Gallery and that whole universe to begin with. I'm digging the beginnings of season 4 for Gotham. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10.